All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
And I'm Eric.
And today we are going to be talking about Kingdom Hearts 3. We're going to be doing a non-spoiler first impressions video on this, or discussion on this. And then we're also going to be doing the same thing for another game, another Eden. And then also we have, I don't want to say a rumor, because there's been some patents that have been released showing that the PS5 is likely going to be backwards compatible. Obviously, we're not really seeing anything from Sony like confirming this, but there is some pretty good source information out there saying this is likely going to be the case. So we're very anxious to talk about that. And of course, we have comments from last week, which we will get into. But before we get into any of that, we're probably going to have a short "What have you been playing" episode this week, because y'all know what we've been playing. But I think Eric's been up to something kind of interesting. If you want to jump into that, Eric.
Yeah, well, obviously the games I've been playing are Kingdom Hearts 3 and another Eden. We will dive into our thoughts on that in just a moment. But I did pick up a cheap Game Boy Pocket here. What exactly the Game Boy Pocket was? It was pretty much the second iteration of the Game Boy. The first Game Boy coming out in 1989. This one came out a few years later to be like a more sleek, updated look on the Game Boy, because the old Game Boy is like a big bulky guy. Mm-hmm. So they made this one here, a little bit before the Game Boy Color came out. And I will say this is a very nice device. I believe it has even a bigger screen than the Game Boy Color does. And so I decided what I want to do, and I'm going to order the stuff and go out and get some more solder, is I am going to install a backlight on it. Because I turn it on and I keep forgetting that I live in the era where backlights are a thing now. I'm very privileged. Everyone here is privileged in that regard. So what I'm going to do is order a mod screen online, put it in, take the old one out, solder in the new one. This is a model where you do have to solder the red and blue wire out and the other one in. So it'll be an interesting experiment. Hopefully I don't damage it. But as soon as I'm done with it, I'll be glad to show it on here.
Cool. Yeah, that I remember I never owned one of those Game Boys, but that was the first version I used to play at a friend's house. I remember playing Zelda on there, and one of my takeaways from that system was I feel like, can you hold that model up again? Was that the big fat one, or was that just a black and white smaller? So that is the Pocket. Okay. I thought you had purchased the original Game Boy, the brick version one that like took like several batteries.
Yeah, I have it.
And
you can see it. You can actually see it. I'm trying to direct my fingers correctly, but if you look right here, my original Game Boy is right there.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, that's it up there with the camera on top. That is the same one I got from when I was a little kid, my very first Game Boy. Still works. I do not have the heart to mod it. It stays as it is. Sentimentally, it's got to stay the way it is.
Yeah, but man, the thing about those portable systems back then, like the Game Boys, were that, dude, battery purchases really put a damper on my mobile gaming. Because, I mean, you get into a good game and you'll burn through a set of batteries in like 3 or 4 days. I mean, today, like the best thing they ever did for mobile gaming was being able to charge your device and plug it into the wall and keep playing. But and the backlight for sure.
This one in particular uses AAA batteries. I forgot it used AAA. Like, I actually had to go get AAA batteries for it because I thought it ran on AA. I forgot about that, but it has about the same life expectancy as a the first Game Boy for the most part. I think like 10 plus hours of play on something you might have to change battery,
Yeah.
10 to 15 hours of play. But I mean, they had pretty good battery life, just probably because they didn't use so much power. The Game Gear, however, was a
Oh
little
yeah, that was.
powerhouse. It had a backlight. It used color.
Yeah, but like it would last like 3 hours, and then you'd have to buy new batteries again.
It required 6 AA batteries. 6. And it
Dude.
lasted 3 to 4 hours. And I know this because I remember we were going like on a trip. I think it was like a trip to Florida, which is like a 12-hour trip for me.
Yeah.
And I put the 6 AA batteries in. I'm like, great, this is going to distract me till we get to our destination. Within like 4 hours, it was gone. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, this is expensive. Like, and then correct me if I'm wrong. I never owned a Game Gear. I just had friends that had one. But you can't save with that either, right?
I mean, it has a memory,
like a password thing, or you have to get a memory. Okay.
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember any games I had. I didn't have many games on the Game Gear. There was a Phantasy Star game, kind of on the.
So I feel like that you
Game Gear.
definitely have to save. I don't know.
Yeah, you would really need to save because the saves are actually built into the cartridges themselves, not the.
Yeah, I was a little kid when I was doing this, so maybe I just have some false impressions. But I do remember the power issue, which is just ridiculous. That's one of the things that really made the Game Boy so successful was it could last a car length. It didn't have as good graphics, but you could actually play it. It was affordable. So Nintendo's always been real smart about that.
I think pretty much anything after the NES era had a form of battery clock that held save data.
Yeah,
So
you're probably right.
I think Game Gear was part of that also. I could be wrong. Sega is pretty famous for cutting corners in certain places, but
that would be a really big corner to cut. But very cool.
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to add before we transition real quick, what made you want to add a backlight to your Game Boy again? To this Game Boy, just as a kind of project? Okay.
I don't think it's really hard to do. I think I can do it in one night, as long as I get everything together. I got pretty much everything except I can even get a soldering iron from work. I just have to get the solder for it.
Yeah. BioPhoenix says some games on Game Gear had a save battery, I recall. Oh, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but speaking of backlight, though, I know that it's real popular for people to do that with the Neo Geos as well, which, growing up, I never had a...
Over there.
I had the Neo Geo Pocket Color when I was a kid. That was a great system. I had a lot of good times with that. But the thing is, like, you don't really realize how important a backlight is when you don't have it, right? When I was a kid, like, I didn't think anything of it. You just get close to a lamp or something. But, now that, like, every system has it, you go back and play it, you're just like, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. So,
yeah.
Interesting.
And I didn't realize, but look how freaking big my hand is to it. Like, when I play it, it's like, I remember this being a lot bigger when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, holding it like this, it's going to, well, I'm truly going to go down memory lane with it.
Well, dude, my setup for my Game Boy was ridiculous, right? I had this giant battery pack thing that would go on the back of it, so I didn't have to buy batteries and I could charge it into the wall, but it was huge. Like, I couldn't fit it in my pocket anymore. And then I had something else that stuck on the top that was like a reading light for the Game Boy, and it would like go over my screen. So like I had this like massive thing, and I'd sit there in bed and play like Pokemon and stuff. It was really, really ridiculous.
Wait. Let me see. Let me see something here. Did it look something like? Oh man, you can't even really see it on here. Crap. Oh, here we go.
Now I can.
There we go.
It looked similar to that, except mine was like black and purple.
Let me see.
But it was huge. Like it was no longer a Game Boy Pocket.
This isn't even my final form.
It's like I can kind of see it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize the camera wouldn't react well to it. But this isn't my final form. Like the 8-year-old kids had like 20 accessories built into it.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. It looked like something from like Star Trek or something by the time
Yeah.
I was done with it.
The most I ever really had on my Game Boys were like the little wiggle light that you just put on top of it.
Yeah.
I was happy with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to be able to see, you know, the Pokemon when you're trying to catch them and stuff. So, anyways, that was a cool little discussion. But let's go ahead and transition, because normally, like I said, we talk about what we've been playing, but we've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3 and Another Eden, so might as well just venture into that territory. So I picked up Kingdom Hearts 3 on Monday evening. I believe you did as well, right?
Yes, I did.
At 9 p.m.?
Yes, and there was actually a lot of people there. And there was actually one individual, and I hope he doesn't watch this, because I saw that and it was super cringe. He came in an organization coat, and he was carrying around like a big keyblade that looked heavy, the hold around the whole time, and he was just like, you know, chanting lines from the game. And like that, I'm like, oh my god, this is stuff I make fun of. I mean, no disrespect, but man, I was like, I want to get my copy and leave.
How old is this guy?
The guy, I mean, he looked like he was probably late teens or something like that. If I had to take a guess, he was probably late teens.
I don't know if this is forgivable or not, but I'll let it go.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought maybe if he was like 10, but yeah. That's a little much.
I was like, but it's a GameStop. I'm like, why? Like, you're going to be here just for a few minutes and you want to show that off? Okay.
Yeah, like, but like you're the only one dressed like that.
I honestly wanted to take a picture, but there's like too many people around, and someone would notice if I was like trying to take a picture of him. I didn't want to cause a scene.
Oh, I'm just checking my time. Right in front of you. Yeah, that'd been a little awkward. Dude, I reserved my copy. I didn't pay for the whole thing outright. For some reason, I just paid $5 because that's all I was required to do, just in case I decided to do something else. And they told me, you know, be there at 9. We're gonna pull numbers and all that stuff. And I had to work late, really late. I worked till like 8:30, maybe a little bit past that. And so I was driving home, and I had to get gas and stuff. So by the time I got to this GameStop, it was almost 9:30, and I was just like, Jesus Christ. Like, I was imagining, you know, all those thoughts were racing through my head. I thought the GameStop was going to be closed, or like for some reason they thought I wasn't coming that night and they would just sell my copy, even though I pre-ordered it. And they were going to tell me, oh, don't worry, you'll get your copy in 4 days or something like that. Like, or something crazy like that, right? And all of that was nonsense, because, you know, of course I got there. It was actually better because I got there, nobody was there. They told me everyone had just left, and they did have my copy. So it was I think it worked out really, really good to show up a little later, because it's only a half hour. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, came home, popped it in my PS4. I was expecting a patch. This one was 2 gigabytes. That seemed a little big for a day one patch, but I'm not, you know, especially for a game that was delayed a month.
I don't remember there being an online patch. Now, I put it in, and there was obviously the disk installation.
Dude, I don't know. I had a patch, and then I also had a software update for my PS4. So what I'm trying to get at is it took a little while for me to play the game before I could actually, you know, I couldn't just plop it in my PS4 and play it. But you were able to go like right out of the box?
I mean, it was about a 5 to 10 minute installation.
Okay.
I waited for it.
Yeah, it wasn't excessively long for me, but I had to work the next day, so I could only play it for about an hour that night, unfortunately.
I did take Tuesday off.
Yeah.
But I played from Monday night till like, I don't know, maybe like 2 in the morning. And then I woke up at like 7 in the morning, and when that kept going at it again.
Did you set an alarm clock?
Yeah. I will say my total time I've put into the game, I've made sure to put the PS4 in rest mode each time I'm done with it, just so the timer wouldn't keep going.
Mhm.
I'm clocked 42 hours in that, and I haven't beaten it yet. I'm like, I mean, if we're going to say, I might as well say where I am in progress right now. I'm right before the final boss, and right now I'm trying to do a certain side quest to get a certain item before I take him on,
Mhm.
because I don't want a certain other Keyblade to be the one that I have with being the one to beat the final boss. I want the ultimate weapon
Yeah.
do it. So that's where I am right now. I know of a lot of people who've beaten it uh, already, and I'm just kind of like avoiding the places where they're discussing that. So I don't know what's going on at that point, but uh, that's how far I've gotten. How far in are you?
Well, I had to work on Tuesday and I had to stay late quite a bit this week doing we're still doing end of the year stuff at my work. But as of today, I'm a little over 16 hours in. So after conversing with you and some other people, uh, I think that puts me roughly at the halfway point, depending on how long I've been taking my time with stuff
Yes.
or how quickly I've been going through. Um, so
Getting through the main campaign, I don't think this is spoilery, but really, if you think it is, then skip like a minute or two. The
yeah,
game is roughly 25 to 35 hours to beat.
which was surprising to me because I read the game was supposed to be 40 to 50 hours, its main campaign, and then there was going to be extra stuff that would push it a little longer if you wanted to do it. But I guess that 40 to 50 hour mark was really that with a lot of the post game or
I
end game content.
I heard that's like when you do all the side content, it can get
Hmm.
up to about 50 hours. Um, I was about to say, but yeah, the length of Kingdom Hearts 3 is roughly the same as 1 and 2, so I can't
Yeah.
really complain so much
Well, it's
because
not a
that's
yeah, it's not a complaint. It's just an observation, I would say.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
BioPhoenix says here it's going to be a while for me to get Kingdom Hearts 3, but from what a little I watched, it still looks like a solid game. Graphics look like a real Pixar movie. And then David says I beat it in 34 hours. So there you go. It depends on how long uh,
I think it might also
you take
depend
to
on what
explore and
mode you
everything
play
like
it.
that. Yeah, I'm playing in the normal mode because I wanted to play it based on what they expect me to play. I know a lot of Kingdom Hearts veterans are playing it on the proud mode, which
I mean, I play it on standard. I
yeah.
want to play it first on developer. When I ever do a second playthrough, which is
Hmm.
inevitable because this game is, awesome. I will play it a second time again sometime in the future, a year from now or so maybe, and I'll do proud mode then. But I wanted to see how they balance difficulty in what they consider a normal setting. That's what I like to do in my games in general. I'm not one of those people that are like, I'm going to immediately just put it on hard.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I do like challenging games. I mean, I really love playing Castlevania and Ninja Gaiden, the NES games and stuff. I love the
Sure.
challenge of them, but I also like to first play it in the balance difficulty the developers originally intended.
Well, and the thing is too that it's hard to tell like how difficult hard mode is going to be without first playing the standard mode, right? So, and I mean, you can kind of get an idea from it just being a Kingdom Hearts game, but the last thing I'd want to do is get 10 hours into Kingdom Hearts 3 and just be like, I made the wrong decision. you know, like
Yeah,
like it just be a sludge fest because I just picked the hardest setting and they upped the ante on this version. So, uh yeah, I have no shame in picking the standard mode.
yeah. Kingdom Hearts 2, I've played the proud and critical modes of them. I even beat Lingering Well
Hmm.
in the critical, both proud and critical setting
Hmm.
of Kingdom Hearts. And I'm not saying this as someone who's like some expert gamer. I was just determined, and I eventually beat it.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, as David's saying in the chat, I've actually heard it from other people too. That
Yeah.
proud mode still is pretty easy, especially if you're someone who's familiar with Kingdom Hearts.
Sure.
I can say in my playthrough in standard, I have only died to many games or particular situations I didn't understand.
I think thus far I've died 3 times, but 2 of the times were because I ventured a little too far in the neck of the woods in the gummy ship. And I ended up taking on something that was a little too strong for me. And aside from that, I've only had 1 real game over, and it's for the exact same reason you said. Like, I didn't really get the flow of combat for the particular boss battle. And the second time I got through, I was able to get through it. You know, I see this a little bit from various people, like you mentioned, saying that they felt like the standard mode was a little too easy, even the proud mode was a little too easy. And I do think that it is an easier game to play, but I still find myself having a lot of fun. And I think that's the focus for me anyways, is that when they designed this, it's whether or not like you die is one factor, but it's just very, very fun to play.
Yeah, on top of that, the game is very generous in giving you abilities right at the start. Rather which mode you pick, rather Mystic Warrior or Defender, like they give you a lot more abilities to start with than they did in 1 and 2. 1 and 2,
Yeah.
you essentially had your 3 hit combo, and at the beginning they give you guard, dodge roll. Um, like I picked a warrior form, and within like the first 3 levels, I already got a combo boost. Like they're very generous with giving you abilities in this game, and on top of that, they give you accessories that just like tremendously increase your AP. So you can
Well,
put all these abilities on you,
mhm.
and you can get everything, and you can get like everything you currently have up there. The previous 2 games, you really had to decide on what you wanted to omit or keep in, and eventually by level 99, you could have almost everything on
Well,
your
and
set.
I think the idea was, and I'm trying real hard not to spoil anything, and I haven't played all the Kingdom Hearts games, so it would be very difficult for me to spoil a lot of things. But I think the idea of how quickly he's progressing, or how much abilities they give you very early in the game, kind of correlates to the fact that in the story, Sora is supposed to be a pretty like established hero, right? So it would be really strange if he wasn't powerful, but they can't just give you everything at the beginning of the game, right? So there's a kind of a small story purpose for that, but uh, it does allow you to have a learning curve while also making it not too egregious in the world, which I appreciate. So,
hmm I would say overall, it's a very easy game. I haven't fought any of what would be considered the higher tier boss fights
mhm,
yet. Like you know how like every Kingdom Hearts game has a super boss in some way. I mean,
yeah.
this game's no different. I gotten to that point yet, but there is a super boss in the game. I don't know if they're going to add DLC for more fights
Mhm.
or anything in the future, but there's definitely not amount of in-game hard content like there is in Kingdom Hearts 2. Now, granted, the all the stuff that all the additional boss fights that came from Kingdom Hearts 2, like the whole like being able to fight all 13 organization members
Mhm.
individually with their own each unique boss fight, and the Lingering Will are all in the final mix version. They weren't in the original Kingdom Hearts 2. So I'm kind of wondering if they're going to add DLC in the future where they add stuff that would be like in the final mix version of a Kingdom Hearts.
I could see that. I don't see any reason why not.
I think it would be great DLC. You know,
I've
add
se-
boss fights and
yeah, I've seen some fans that have already beaten it have basically been asking for that already. And I mean, I think that if there's demand for that, I don't see why they wouldn't do that, you know?
mhm. I'd be up
Uh,
for it. I think that is exactly what DLC should be. It's additional content because my personal opinion, Kingdom Hearts 3 does feel like a complete game.
sure.
It's a full $60
Well,
game. You got what you wanted. So anything at this point, I think would be. I don't feel like there's anything missing from the game.
yeah, and
So to say.
I think like my general sense of this game thus far where I'm at is like I keep going back and forth, but in general, like I felt like, and this is me personally, I'm not quite sure how you feel, but I feel like this game is an instant classic for me. I could see myself playing this in 10 years, and just having a blast with it still. I mean, the gameplay on point. In many cases, like it impresses me that how fluidly he's able to, I say he as in Nomura, is able to blend abilities and like animation, like with live combat. Like there's sequences in the game where it feels like this should be an FMV, and I feel like in past generations, like these types of animations would be an FMV, but in this, it's like I'm actually getting to play what would normally be an FMV. Some of these animations, and I didn't think like a lot of these battles would play so smoothly and be so impressive from a technicality standpoint. I'm just really, really impressed in general with the overall product.
Yeah, can I just go ahead and say that this combat is really damn good? I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's some of the best combat I have ever played in a 3D game. It feels so good. They've done so many improvements over Kingdom Hearts 2. For starters, every single weapon has its own form and
Hmm.
different things you can do with it. I'll just say a few, for example, the keyblade you get from the Hercules world, Olympus, is when it can transform into a shield, and it can transform into riding Pegasus around and hitting enemies while you're on it. And then you have one from the Pirates of the Caribbean world, um, where it can transform into a spear and into a storm flag, and you can do a bunch of crazy stuff with it. And then you end up, well, I won't spoil what the special move is, but I mean it's really
Yeah.
cool. But each weapon has its own thing, and you think to yourself for a second, well, you still the each one keyblade stronger than the other. They actually developed a cool system this time where you can upgrade those keyblades. There still might
Hmm.
be some keyblades that are ultimately stronger, but you can upgrade these keyblades enough that they're relevant in game. So, like the very first key you get, the Kingdom Key, can still be one of your strongest keyblades in the end game, as long as you get the materials to level it up.
Yeah.
Now, when you get the best Keyblade in the game, it's going to mount, or it's going to make all the other Keyblades irrelevant. But
Sure.
until you get that weapon, you can customize these Keyblades, and you can have three Keyblades at once, and that you can switch over with the D-pad in battle. So there's so many ways that you can customize and do different types of things in this game. It's what what's so great about it also, if I'm sorry, I just keep ranting about this, is that um you would think something like this feels overwhelming,
Hmm.
but since the combat is so great, or like so simple, that like it all just meshes together so well.
Well, you know what it is? It's I will be honest, at first, so many different, I felt like every 10 minutes, some new screen was popping up in my face being like, well, you can also do this. You can also do this. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, I need to take notes, or like I'm going to have to keep referring to the menus. And honestly, it's like, A, a lot of the stuff is not that difficult to remember. And B, because the difficulty, to be honest, is not over the hill like crazy. Uh, a lot of it just feels like it's just adding variety to the combat, a new way to play the game, and I kind of pick and choose what I want to use. I mean, there are certain fights where I felt like it was pretty pertinent to use a particular abilities or skill set, but it's just adding a lot of variety to it. It's not necessarily a necessity, so it doesn't feel overwhelming to me, especially not being someone who's played all the Kingdom Hearts games. So, I do have to read a lot of the pop-ups, and I do have to make sure I try the move and make sure like I got a good feel for it. Whereas some of the older players might come a little bit more natural.
Yeah, when I first started playing the game, like I was so surprised how often transformations were happening.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
think that's another contribution of what makes the game so easy, is that you get these attractions all the time. You get the attractions, you get the combined skills of Donald, Goofy, and or another Disney ally who's there, that thing pops up all the time, and your transformations pop up after just a few seconds of hitting your combos.
Yeah.
You have such easy access to this stuff that I almost feel like I want to criticize it for giving it to you too easily. Like I
I
feel like you should have to earn these more than than what it's allowing you.
this is gonna sound weird, but it's like one of those things I want to criticize, but I'm still like in amazement, right? It's similar to when we played and we talked about Xenoblade Chronicles. Like slightly criticize the game for having such long dungeons, but I was so impressed to not see the same graphics used over and over again for these dungeons. Like there's like they'd come through and like redesign an entirely new area from the ground up, and I was just like flabbergasted like by how many like new areas they designed and how much time that must have taken. And I feel the same way with Kingdom Hearts 3, where like I want to criticize the fact that like it's like every 45 seconds there's like some new special ability or transformation I can use, but like I'm 16 and a half hours in and I'm still occasionally seeing like new ones, like, and like the amount of effort that went into designing these, and like the animation quality is like so like polished and just fun to play, that like it's just so much effort went into it. Like I can't really criticize it that much, you know?
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Where I'm going to stand on the criticism
Mm-hmm.
is that I feel like those would be more fulfilling and more awe-inspiring if I feel like I earned them, or if they don't happen enough.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So like it feels really satisfying if I pull off a certain combo that ends in a certain way that requires a certain level of skill in the game,
Mm-hmm.
because this game is still ultimately like a brawler, despite it feeling really good. It's still a lot of X button match. Rarely in, I mean, one-on-one boss fights, you obviously gotta use your repertoire a little more, but like on a thing of enemies, like it feels really good to take down a group of enemies. Like smacking your keyblade against something, or using the attractions, or getting together with your allies, or
Mm-hmm.
even using summons for that matter. It all feels great. The animation is stunning. The how it feels to like hit an enemy, like especially like when you're up in the air and doing a really long combo, super satisfying. Just the one thing, I just wish that those additional combos and those beautiful animations felt like they were harder to earn, so I could appreciate them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's that type of fanfare, or I think that in a previous episode, Heian used the word light show, right? Maybe some of that spectacle should have been saved for more of a reward purpose. I can definitely see that. I think Nomura's style, though, is he just likes to just blast you with one over the top sequence over another and just kind of like push you down into your couch until like you're having a hard time getting up with so much flash and colors and you know, so it's one way of doing things, but I do think I would have preferred some more strategy, and for, or I don't want to say strategy, but a more reward structure like you're mentioning here for sure.
Now, to give it its credit, it never really felt like it got old either,
Yeah,
because especially since it's
agreed.
optional, it doesn't pop up when it wants to. It you I can still just go through mowing enemies with the keyblade if I just want to quickly get somewhere.
Hmm.
So I can ignore all that. But I mean, when I have the option, or not taking on groups or bosses, something like that, I'm always going to hit them in that regard. So I like that I can still enjoy it because I still feel like it's not forced upon me.
Sure.
So there is that. I'll give credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I haven't really gotten tired of the combat yet. It is still fun for me.
It's still
And
fun for me. I'm
yeah,
still not bored of it.
yeah, and you're pretty much almost done with the game, so that
Yeah.
speaks for itself. But I think a lot of it just has to do with, um, I know in Kingdom Hearts 1, I've only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I felt in 1 particularly, and I realized there's a lot of other games out there too. So,
You dare
um,
play 3 without playing the spin-offs?
yeah, I did. Sorry, I tried to catch up on the story as much as I could, but I can't talk about the gameplay. But man, like the Heartless, there would be so many Heartless that would just endlessly like barrage you like to no end. And it would just get so tiresome in Kingdom Hearts 1. And this one, Kingdom Hearts 3, like it's much more reasonable. Like it might come up a couple of times, but you're not just like to the point where like you can't breathe because there's just so many enemies that just constantly appear where you just want to run away. So that I think that helps. And just the variety of different just different combos and stuff you can do in the different animations like really helped add a lot of variety. And just running up walls and jumping and floating in the air. Like I can't help but wonder if like this direction was, and this is a small tangent, but what Nomura was planning on going with Final Fantasy 15, because a lot of times I felt like this feels like the Leviathan fight. This feels like other scenes in 15. Like, is this the direction you're trying to go? Because this feels good. But yeah, I mean the combat is really really good for sure.
Yeah, I even understand 15 wasn't aiming to be towards the craziness that was Kingdom Hearts, but man, Kingdom Hearts combat is just so ridiculously better. There's just
Yeah.
more to it. It feels satisfying when you hit something. In 15, you just hold a button and just watch Noctis like attack things, and
Warp,
occasionally warp
Warp
strike
Strike.
somewhere.
Warp Strike was was pretty cool. I liked Warp Strike,
Just
but
hold on the circle. It's like fighting, 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 square, fighting, 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 square.
yeah, there wasn't much to it. They definitely rushed that job for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a lot more I can say about in regards to that with 15 and Kingdom Hearts. A lot more,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
can't say it. It's a spoiler.
yeah.
I can't say it.
We'll definitely. I mean, we haven't really talked about it outside of this, but I assume we'd have no problem doing a Kingdom Hearts 3 discussion, right?
Yeah, we'll do a spoiler discussion.
I
I think you and I are still deciding how to approach that, but for now,
yeah.
it's non spoiler for now. But in the
Hmm.
future, we'll do some form of spoiler talk.
And there is a lot of like juicy stuff that I like. I'm fighting the urge to get into, but we'll have to get into it on that episode because I don't want to spoil anything. Even though it seems like a lot of people in the chat have beaten the game. Well, although I don't know, we have Dante and Lane who just beat Kingdom Hearts 2 today. I guess they're wanting to beat that before jumping into 3. So good on you for sticking to your guns. I would have just been like, I'm playing 3 now.
Are you
It's out.
telling me you're not going to play 358 over 2 days, Birth by Sleep, Recoded, or Dream Drop Distance, or Back Cover?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Yes.
You plebs, all of
And
you.
I think they're saying the same thing. I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe this is their second or third time playing Kingdom Hearts 2. Who knows? But
Speaking of that, if
huh,
I had to, there is a lot of confusion if you've not played the previous games in
which is
three,
me. Yeah.
but a lot of the game is the Disney World, which you do understand.
Sure.
Um,
Well, I mean, from my perspective, I've beaten Kingdom Hearts 1. I've gotten pretty far in Kingdom Hearts 2, but I didn't beat it because various reasons. But I did catch up on a lot of the story. I finished the story for Kingdom Hearts 2, and I caught tidbits from other games, but not like a whole lot. And I have to be honest, uh, playing this game, sometimes I feel like I'm not quite sure what's going on. But I feel like I'm still following it. I'm not gonna like write a book about it. I'm not gonna like I can't like draw a diagram of the various plot points, but I'm getting the rough idea. And the game does include some like a little like 20-minute catch up thing where you're able to get some additional context. And I'm not gonna say that I know the game in and out, but it's easy enough for me to follow, especially like you said, the fact that if I'm not following something, there's still the Disney stories, which are, we all know the Disney stories. So
yeah.
clearly there's something that, accessible there. So it's definitely a entry point if you've never played a Kingdom Hearts game for sure.
Something I noticed is that the game acknowledges the complicated uh, knowledge or the complicated levels of knowledge needed to
Hmm.
play the game, and they do address the answers people have been looking for in this game. through the questions that were established in the like spin-off games. What I do appreciate they did, it's very simple explanations. Whether you like them or not like them, but well, let's be frank here, people. We've been waiting since 2012 for the continuation of this story. The hype built around it was never going to live up to what got released. And I think for what got released, they did a fine enough job. I think there's a lot, without spoiling anything, I think there's a lot of lack of originality, but its level of fan service is nearly up to the max. Like, this was built for Kingdom Hearts players. The story wise, it was built for them. Like, this was not, story wise, this was not really an attempt to get new people into the lore of the story. Like, this was to satisfy fans. And like I said, I haven't beaten the game yet, so I can't say where the story's going to go from here. But assuming this is all over, just an educated guess, I think they're going to do a soft reboot on Kingdom Hearts 4, and you're probably going to have little to no knowledge needed of the first three and all the spin-offs around it.
Yeah, I do think there's a good balance of like, obviously this is a big game, this is a mainline game, and it has to address, like you said, a lot of the story sequences that came before it. But I mean, look, I do routinely have that moment where somebody appears on the screen and I'm like, who is this guy? I have no idea who this guy is. Like, what's his significance? But, you know, usually they kind of fill you in a little bit on, you know, how we know this person, and you know, is this a good encounter? Is this a bad encounter? And so I can kind of follow things at that basic of a level. So for me, I'm still getting enjoyment out of it, although I know that apparently fans feel like the story execution in this game is really, really good for tying up loose ends. But one thing that I would want to comment on regarding the story is in relation to the Disney sequences. Oh man, like, I just feel like the execution of these sequences is like so much better than in previous games that I've played, because usually, you know, they would kind of run through the main points from like the Aladdin film, right? Or something along that lines. And it would be like the Aladdin movie in like 7.5 minutes. Right.
I agree.
And it was like, just like very, I don't know. It just didn't make me feel good. And this iteration, sometimes I still get that feeling like they're just kind of running through the story quickly, but they spend a lot more time, and they don't take in needless factors from the movies and stuff like that aren't going to add anything, and it kind of create their own little story, which is what it's supposed to do, and it's a lot better executed. Occasionally, I still get that feeling like I'm missing a scene or two for how we wrap things up by the time I leave. But all in all, the execution of the Disney sequences is really, really good.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the biggest compliments I can give this game, is that the animation and the cutscenes is so solid compared to the other games.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know what that thing was. But anyways, the animation is just absolutely stellar. The thing I've always complained about in every Kingdom Hearts game before is that they have this unbelievable need to go between animation and cardboard face, where it's like you're fully animated like this, then like in the very same scene, like a second afterwards, then you see him like,
You're like, what's going on there?
Yeah, the only thing that's moving is her mouth, and occasional blink of the eyes. And I'm okay with that. I understand. It's PS2. You can't do but animations, but so much. But that is where it's your responsibility to make sure you use specific camera tricks to not portray the character's face if you can't do animation full time for it. It's so disjarring, even during PS2's prime, when it was the go-to console at the time.
Yeah.
It's so easy to notice, and it bothered me so much and like they got a little better with it in the future, but you could just tell it every time. And Kingdom Hearts 3, they don't cut corners in it, almost at
It's
all. Like very, very rarely you're able to catch animation at a slightly like that you could tell like the animation is not as much as the one, but they do such a great job on hiding it.
Yeah, I really do feel like the immersion factor is really on point here because the animation quality is very very similar to a lot of these movies. Now, obviously, if you're a huge fan of Toy Story or something, or some of the other worlds here, I'm sure if you put like a side by side view of the movie and like the game, like a cutscene, like there's going to be a difference, obviously. But it's when you're playing it, and it looks really good on my 4K television. That's
It
that's what I'm trying to get at. Like
They
it,
really got it close. They
yeah.
really got it close in this game, and people have
The,
put YouTube videos of comparisons to scenes that were recreated from their original movie.
mhm,
They almost look identical. Like you can tell the difference because they're side to side. I
sure.
won't say which world, but there's a certain world where they completely recreate a scene from a Disney movie.
Mhm.
And I was asking myself, is this the game or did they just take this out of the movie and put it into the game? And then I saw how they incorporated Kingdom Hearts into it, or
Mhm.
like Sora, Donald, and Goofy into it. I'm like, no, this is the game's animation. I'm like, I'm amazed that they did this. Like, this is such a step up. They really put effort into this. I don't know if animators from Disney helped, but this is one of the most gorgeous games I have ever seen. They
Yeah,
did such a good job.
it looks really, really good. I mean, even the small details, like a lot of the facial mannerisms and such you would see in the movies that wouldn't really translate to the PlayStation 2. Like all those small little like ticks with the mouth and the eyes and everything, like all of it's there. The expressiveness in the face, like it's a very, very well done. Um, and just the general flow of how they present the story, I feel like for these sequences is really well done. And previous games, they would kind of it would be kind of cheesy. They would try to like remake like all the big scenes from the movie, and sometimes that works, but like a lot of times it's just like like with the Tarzan in Kingdom Hearts 1 where like you go in the tent and they're like showing Tarzan like clips of Europe and stuff. It's like, okay, well that was way more emotional in the movie. In this game, you're just you're just trying to capitalize on nostalgia. This doesn't work, right? So they kind of cut a lot of that cheese factor out, I feel like, and actually started telling real stories here. And I'm not gonna say like it's a Shakespearean drama or something. Like we're talking about Disney characters here. So some of them are kind of silly and stuff, but I'm actually like really like invested in these worlds. Like it's actually enjoyable, and sometimes I'm not sure what is or how things are going to go because they didn't stick to the movie script so strictly. They're willing to venture off the path a little bit in some of these worlds, so that I can really appreciate.
Yeah, some worlds are just like take place after their respective movies.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say which ones, but there were some that were
Basically the same.
basically the same. And I can understand. One world I know, the way that movie ended, you couldn't make that character work in your party.
Yeah.
In that instance, but what I like so much about it, this is the leasty Disney worlds I felt in truth. Like sometimes when you play Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 or other Kingdom Hearts games, you kind of feel like I want to get this Disney stuff over with so I can get back to the main points of the story. But in this game, I was just having fun doing these Disney worlds. I wasn't even thinking about like I just want this to be over with. I think there was a certain world I felt that way, but the rest of the worlds I just had a great time. Like this isn't spoilers, it's in trailers. The Pirates of the Caribbean world's in there. And
Hmm.
that was so fun. They recreated that movie part, the movie so well, and the graphics are just so incredible. Like it looks like a triple A Pirates of the Caribbean game, and it's just a world in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, one review I saw that was talking about Kingdom Hearts 3, they said, who know like something along the lines of like who really cares about Pirates of the Caribbean without Johnny Depp? We don't even know what they're doing anymore. But in Kingdom Hearts 3, you know, Jack Sparrow's back. Like Pirates of the Caribbean is fun again. It looks really good. I haven't gotten to that yet. I think I'm really, really like close, but I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, that one's a good time. Like I said, there's really only one world I didn't care for, and I think it was more because of the level structure and
Hmm.
how you felt irrelevant to its story. Also, those
Yeah.
are two big criticisms. It's not so much I didn't like the movie. I thought the movie it came from was okay. I like the other one. I like the other 3D animated Disney movies more. I think people can kind of put the pieces together which one I'm talking about. But for people who have played it, but this is the least intrusive Disney has felt, and they do find ways, even if it doesn't feel like it meshes well. They do find a way to integrate the main story through the Disney worlds, and sometimes it works well, and other times I'm like, this is just kind of weird that that these Disney characters are interacting with these Kingdom Hearts characters.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, overall, like I think it's a really, really, really good game. I'm excited to finish it. I'm surprised how much polish is in here. I can kind of see now why there was a little bit of outrage over GameSpot giving it just an 8 out of 10.
Oh,
Granted, a lot
grow up, people.
a lot of that outrage was from people that had not played the game yet. So, what are you talking about? But let's put it this way: I was watching a Jim Sterling review. He made one video kind of making fun of Kingdom Hearts because that's kind of his thing. But he made another like impressions video with Kingdom Hearts 3, and he said something along the lines of like a lot of you Kingdom Hearts fans are just watching this video wanting to get your own bias confirmed that this is a good game, and unfortunately I'm gonna have to do that. This is a great game. And he went on and on about how much fun he's having with the game. And dude, when you have Jim Sterling praising your game, like, you know it's a good game, because it's, I guess I shouldn't say you know it's a good game, but he's not easy to please, right? He like he makes a living off finding like the smallest little nitpick and just blowing it out of proportion in a 20-minute video. So if somebody like him is praising your game, like that says a lot, I think. Anyways.
I agreed with almost everything he said in that Jim Impression video. Um, he is right in the sense that if you thought the stories of Kingdom Hearts were stupid before, this
Yeah.
game won't change your mind.
Yeah.
It's still got the absurdity that the series is known for,
Yeah.
and you're not going to find the most compelling story in the world
Hmm.
through this. I will say the writing is much better than the previous games.
Yeah.
That's not saying too much, but they definitely improved everything on that. But if you're someone that just has not enjoyed the way the writing is, or how the story goes, or how the convoluted nature of it is, this game ties it up, but it's still convoluted
Sure.
to a very extent. And they do a lot of workarounds and a lot of reach outs to make sense of things in this
Hmm.
game. Despite being simple enough to understand, which I mentioned earlier, it's still got that convoluted nature to it. So that's nothing new with the Kingdom Hearts series. You either love it, or I think it's a you love it or hate it type of thing. It's
Yeah.
I'm just someone who enjoys it, but I acknowledge it's very flawed.
Yeah. I think the way he phrased it was whenever there's Disney stuff going on, he's really enjoying himself. The gameplay is really good. But the moment you lose him is when you start talking about the main Kingdom Hearts plot. He has a really hard time with it, and I think probably a lot of other people might feel the same way. But it hasn't bothered me at all. I actually find some of it kind of interesting, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to motivate me to go back and play some of the side games some more, or if it's just going to be, you know, kind of leave it at where it's at and just
If you
appreciate
really
it for
want
what
to
it
play
is.
this game without playing the other stuff and but still want to generally understand the story, there's YouTube videos where they recap the entire series in like 15 minutes in
Yeah.
the videos. Like,
So there's that option. Yeah.
yeah, I would do that. I know a lot of people have done that.
Well,
a personal friend of mine had not played much of the Kingdom Hearts series. And I
Hmm.
told him, if you really care, just go on YouTube, find a video that can summarize the series up to the point. And he was
Hmm.
actually able to understand enough what was going on in Kingdom Hearts 3. And he's been enjoying the game very much.
Yeah, the only problem I have with that, I don't want to say problem because I wouldn't criticize anybody for doing that. I ended up doing a lot of that myself, but I feel like you don't get to know the characters in the same way when you watch like a summarized version, which is better than nothing, right? But I think a lot of the payoffs or the tying up loose ends, that enjoyment factor, you might be able to understand it, but I don't know if it'll be as emotionally as satisfying as if you had played the game, right, and spent 30 hours with those characters. You know what I mean? But it is
Yeah,
better than nothing for sure.
I completely agree. And actually, it's interesting you say that. Well, I agree that, like, if you read the stuff, you'll understand what's going on, but you won't have
Hmm.
the emotional impact of the characters. There's a content creator on YouTube, and I highly recommend people view his channel. I've been watching his reviews. Um, I believe his channel is called King K, just King, then capital K. That's his YouTube
Mm.
channel. And he does a lot of retrospectives, like pretty frequently. He's done a lot for the Zelda series, and he's done for the Kingdom Hearts series also. And he recently did a review on 358 over 2 days. Recently,
Hmm.
he released it like last week. And it was really good because the point he made was that the structure of how 358 over 2 days works. It's the DS game, and they also made a movie version for it in the HD collection. And how the gameplay incorporated itself so much into the narrative that you feels like you're losing out on part of the experience
Hmm.
from not doing the gameplay, because the gameplay is a heavy part of Roxas's like
Yeah.
turning of the organization. And the HD collection only shows important cutscenes that, while they're still greatly animated, from a DS game, you just don't get that level of emotional impact that you do from that.
I
So I highly recommend watching that video. It really, yeah, I think he just brought up such a great point that, like, I'm like, yes, I think that is a good justification for going through the series to
mhm.
better know and enjoy the characters. I just don't think it's a requirement.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to like what are you willing to do. So for me, I'm not at this point willing to go through every single game at this point in my life because there's some other games I want to get to. Maybe over the course of the next couple of years, I might throw one in every now and again. But if it comes down to simply not knowing what's going on at all, or just watching some YouTube videos, like that's obviously going to be better than not knowing anything. But yeah, I think obviously it would be a lot better if um, you spend time with it. But I don't think of like anything else with like an impressions type uh, angle that I can talk about this game. And the only other thing that I can really mention that I can think of off the top of my head, unless you have something, is uh, the music is phenomenal.
Yoko Shimomura, I knew she still had it.
Like it's really, really good. Like
It
I think like I expected it to be good, and it's better than good. Like it's better than I expected. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, I mean, she knows her stuff. Like, which makes me think, like I kind of I found her work in 15 underwhelming, and I was thinking to myself, it's got to be the direction that she was probably given for it.
Hmm.
And then Kingdom Hearts 3, it's like she can just go all out and go crazy, and the music always works well. The only criticism I have is that there is, besides the Disney World, there is
Hmm.
little to no original tracks. There is recreated themes from Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2
Yeah.
and Birth by Sleep and other side games, but very rarely did was there an original track.
Well, and what I was going to follow up on, when maybe ask you, because you might know a little bit more, was it seemed to me that there was a lot of rearranged tracks. It wouldn't be like copy and paste an MP4 onto the disc, right? It would be the same melodies or the same theme, but it was just kind of restructured uh, to work for a particular part. It seemed to me that was my impression from what I was listening to. Even a lot of the like Disney or the some of the main Disney themes, like the toys. I keep saying Toy Story. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler for you all, but you know we've seen that in multiple trailers. So that theme for the opening of the Toy Story movie, even that main song, I'm not going to hum it because you don't want to hear that on this podcast. You'll turn this thing off. But that main comforting melody that just screams Toy Story, it feels rearranged to me, and that like it's not the full thing. It's rearranged for the game, is what I'm trying to say. Maybe I'm just reading into it.
It's all rearranged.
Yeah. So
there's
well
nothing
done.
there's nothing ripped straight from another game. She did rearrange each track that was reused.
Yeah, so I think that's what I'm trying to say, is like it feels well executed. So
yeah, I mean it's nice on a nostalgic level, but I still wish there was a lot of new themes that I can create nostalgia for in the future. But the Disney worlds, I think that really did good.
Yeah. You know, not being a hardcore Kingdom Hearts fan, probably there's some certain tracks that maybe I've never heard before that are from different games, and maybe I'm just experiencing them now for the first time. So
yeah, there are themes from the spin-off games. So if you haven't played those, there will be ones that feel new to you.
So all in all, really, really good impressions. I'm gonna try to beat it this week, but we'll see.
If I can, one of the more negative things. If there's another negative, there's a lot of loading times. But
I do have a negative. Go ahead.
There are loading times, but the worlds are really big, and a lot of times they're seamless.
Yeah,
these worlds are so much bigger than like anything we've ever gotten before. They're ridiculously big. Like you're spending a good few hours in each world.
Yeah, it's not a quick 35-minute thing. That's for sure.
Yeah, not at all.
With like 7 or 8 screens. Like it's not only is it seamless, but you know, you can run up walls and across rooftops and just like that goes on and on forever. Not forever, but like what seems like forever at times. It's very, very immersive. A lot of stuff in the environment you can interact with. And so even though there is a long loading time, it is well worth it. One thing I find immensely frustrating from my playthrough thus far, though, is the gummy ship portions. They're not. I guess immensely frustrating is a little over the top. Sometimes I'm having fun, but in general, there's something that feels off about it, and I feel like it could have been done a little bit better.
I'll say this, I like the gummy ships. I like what they did with this. Saying that, there's a certain side quest I'm doing that heavily involves the gummy ship, and that's the bosses that are in that side quest are frustrating in the fact that they're not hard, but even with like all the most upgraded stuff I can find and like the highest tier stuff I can find, these bosses feel forever to take down. It's like I'm getting bored trying to get through this.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. There's not really a plot purpose, and this is just my experience. Maybe there is as I go further into the game, but usually, like it feels like things take too long, and there's not really a plot relevance for what's occurring. It's just feels like it's just stretching the game time out. For me,
a lot of the gummy stuff is stuff that you obtain trophies for. Like there are certain things you do with the gummy ship, but I did all of those, and it took me less than like 2 hours to finish all of it.
Do everything? Oh wow!
Yeah, there's like treasure places that you can venture to, but they're so easy to get to and they're so easy to unlock.
Hmm.
And like even if you don't have the highest gummy ship, uh, and there are this isn't really spoiler. There's constellations that you can find in the game. You take photographs of.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of that.
They're all near the world. There's 3 per section, world sections, and they're all so easy to find. It's like it
Yeah,
takes no effort to find them.
yeah. Um, so it sounds like it's kind of a balancing issue where some of the side stuff is not very rewarding because it's so easy. But some people are looks like Lane is saying, yeah, I don't really enjoy the gummy ship stuff either. I'm usually just going straight to the next world as soon as possible, and that's kind of how I feel. Like, let me get this over with as quickly as possible. So,
I
it
agree. I agree, David. What's really weird about Master Xehanort is well, just to give context, the first
yeah,
appearance of Master Xehanort in Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop
Leonard
Distance, they had
Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy voice
Yeah.
him. As we all know, he died. But
Hmm.
um, if we want to compare this to Christopher Lee with Ansem the Wise from Kingdom Hearts 2,
Hmm.
um, they got a really good Christopher Lee impersonator to voice him for games that came after, including this game. Like he sounds just like Christopher Lee. Um, in this game, though, Master Xehanort sounds completely different. I have a really hard time believing they couldn't find someone who sounded enough like Leonard Nimoy's depiction of him. Master Xehanort sounds so different
Hmm.
in this that it actually does feel very disjarring.
Yeah, I can't remember his performance in the previous game, so it doesn't feel jarring for me, but I can definitely sympathize with that for sure.
Well, he had a lot more of a groggy voice,
Hmm.
and he was very loud and expressionate with that. And in this game, he sounds very passive. He does
Hmm.
kind of sound old, but he
Yeah.
sounds old and passive.
Hmm.
Like he doesn't have that groggy voice. He kind of has a more normal voice.
Hmm.
And I'm like, they didn't even try to make him sound the same.
They just did a totally different, yeah.
Which I guess is fine. I know they replaced Billy Zane with Richard Epcar for Ansem
Hmm.
from the first game,
Yeah.
and that felt a little disjarring at first, also, but I got used to it
Hmm.
because I thought Billy Zane actually did a really good performance in Kingdom Hearts One. So I like Richard Epcar also, but and I would have been fine with it if it was Richard Epcar in the first game,
Yeah.
but it's something I had to get used to. I guess that's the same deal with Master Xehanort.
Yeah. You know what's, and I sorry to take away from that. We can come back to that if you want. But one thing I noticed on the voice acting that I was surprised because I didn't recognize it, especially since I just got done playing Kingdom Hearts 1 again, is how much Sora's voice has changed. And I didn't
Oh
realize
my
it
god.
playing Kingdom Hearts 3. But when I went back to watch some of the earlier, because they give you a recap of the earlier stuff, you hear Sora's voice from the first game, and he is a little kid. He sounds like a little kid, and
Because
I
Haley
thought
Joel
like,
Osment was a little kid when that came out.
yeah, and like, but now he has still sounds like a little kid, but his voice is a little bit deeper, a little more mature, which is a very subtle change. And I like you said, like I don't think it was intentional. I think it's just because isn't the voice actor just obviously getting older, right?
Yeah, he's in his early 30s. He's a little older than me. I think he's like 2 years older than me. And
Yeah,
I'm turning 30 in a few weeks.
yeah,
And um they really got to get a new voice actor for him. I'm sorry. Haley Joel Osment is just not suited for this role anymore. I kind of forgave it in 2.
yeah.
But after that, he has just been sounding like a 30-year-old trying to sound like a teenager. Like, all right, guys, let's go to Olympus Coliseum. Do you see how it sounds like me trying to do an impression of a young teenager?
Yeah.
Thing is, Hayden Panettiere with Kyrie and David Gallagher with Riku,
Hmm.
their voices transitioned well. To,
Because like Riku had already gone through puberty.
yeah, and Kyrie already sounded like a
Yeah, like a woman.
yeah, like she sounded like a girl in Kingdom Hearts 1, but she sounded more like an older teenager. And
Sure.
Hayden Panettiere has kept that voice.
Well, I think if Sora, if they could just make a game where Sora is actually like a grown man, that they could kind of keep it right, because it is a little strange. Like the guy like has not he's aged like 5 years in like the sequence of like of all these things, but
I don't think it's so much of a criticism of Haley Joel Osment himself.
yeah,
It's just
he's doing the best he can with
yeah, it's just the fact that he doesn't sound like a teenager. It doesn't sound right. It just doesn't. And I can't get over how much it doesn't sound like it. Now, I will say I won't, and I'll try my best not to spoil here, but he does voice another character in this game and
Mhm.
another subsequent, and he sounds fine. It sounds fine enough
Yeah.
because it embraces a deeper, darker voice.
Mhm.
So it suits it better um, because he needs a deeper voice for that
Yeah.
role, and it
Yeah.
works well enough.
Yeah.
Dora in particular, honestly, he's got to stop. They got to stop hiring him. Like I said, nothing against the man himself. He does not sound like a 16-year-old kid
Yeah.
anymore. He just doesn't.
Well, maybe in the next game Sora can be like 22 or 23 or something.
Especially now, if Sora was a more mature character, and because Sora's got a childish like personality, like he'll kind of
Well,
flip here and there.
I think he's going to have to always have that because he's hanging out with Donald and Goofy.
Yeah, and that's what
It's gonna
Sora's supposed to be. He's
it's
supposed
gonna
to be goofy.
it would look weird if it was a 30-year-old man hanging out with Goofy.
Yeah, it's
Like
like,
it's
yeah,
just
guys, let's go on an adventure. Like you
oh,
need,
okay. Like it just
yeah, you need a younger sounding voice to complement that.
yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with Sora being goofy or like that. Well, not trying to, the goofy, the actual goofy.
Mhm.
Um, he does like the character himself is fine. Like
Mhm.
I get that he's the kid a kid around that certain age. It does make enough sense, and he
Yeah.
has grown mature a little more,
Mhm.
but he's still got a very childlike personality, especially when he's in the Disney World. And so, like it's so weird like hearing him just say certain things that like I think an 8-year-old would say, and just with Haley Joel Osment's voice.
Yeah. Uh Real quick before I forget, somebody, I think it was Dante, said, and I maybe he was referring to the Kingdom Hearts 2, but he said, "How are the Mickey voiced scenes?" And I just have to say, I don't think I'll ever get used to Mickey being in these games, because every
E-
scene that he talks just feels ridiculous. Like,
After Kingdom Hearts 2, they've had a different Mickey voice, and that's
uh-huh.
because the guy who voiced them before died.
Oh man, they got to stop doing
But
this.
yeah, yeah, I know, really. But before that particular Mickey voice actor did Mickey's voice for everything, not just Kingdom Hearts. Like
Yeah.
any Mickey related material, he did it. But he
Hmm.
passed away, so they have this guy now pretty much taking his spot. I mean, it sounds fine enough, I guess. I mean,
Well, it just sounds ridiculous because there's so many serious scenes, and then you have this smiling mouse that's like, "Oh yes, I know. He tried really, really hard, but we'll just pull through." And then
yeah.
like everyone else has like such a like deep masculine voice, and it's just so at odds. But you know, whatever. Mickey's classic. Lane says, "I think next episode, Hat and Eric should do best impressions of Donald and Goofy."
Well, of course, I'll sure try.
Well, there you
Yeah.
go. There's
No,
a
I can't
there's
do it.
a
I certainly can't do Donald. No way.
yeah. I'm not even. Yeah, I'm not gonna try in here, but that wasn't bad.
And Dante, don't you remember Kingdom Hearts 2 when you went to save the Cornerstone of Light? Goofy and Donald are over 80 years old, man. He's not 30.
Yeah,
He's lived for a long time.
they're 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 old but young at heart.
But yes, I think besides that, the voice acting was pretty solid from there. The only two I had a problem with were Sora and Master Xehanort.
Yeah.
Everyone else I
So
thought did really good.
yeah. So all in all, really really enjoying the game. Like it a lot.
Yes. Do I recommend it? Yes. On every level. On the gameplay aspect, the story ties up pretty nicely if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan. it is worth its $60. It's more than worth to go get.
Yeah, I would say that the game starts off on a good note. I wasn't crazy about it at first hour or two, but like I think the longer I play it, the better and better it's gotten. So definitely recommend it.
It starts off exciting. Like
Yep.
you're thrilled to play it. It's not like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 where you had to do a lot of tedious little things before you get to the heat of the game. They start you off at the heart of the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyways, I was just gonna say that I just remember the first parts of the game. Just I did a lot of running around because like I was looking for like a map marker or something, and like balancing combat. And Sora likes to float around in the air and do like flips and stuff. Like sometimes by the time the Heartless are gone, like I can't remember which direction I was going. So it was a little frustrating to get used to. But the longer I played it, the more I liked it. So really good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fantastic game. They really stepped up their game here, and it really shows. And Unreal Engine 4 was a great engine to use for it.
Yeah, this really gives me hope for the Final Fantasy VII remake because I was kind of doubtful of Nomura, but I don't know. This game looks really good, plays really well. Seven's being co-developed at the same time, so maybe some of that magic rubbed into Seven. Hopefully, not the same innocent magic, a different type of magic, but
Mm-hmm.
regardless, quality-wise, has me a little more hopeful. So it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go ahead and transition here. We also were playing another game this week. I did not play as much this game as I did play of Kingdom Hearts 3, understandably, but the mobile RPG that was made by the individual that wrote the script for Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the composer from those games, Yosunori Matsuda, and I don't know if anybody else from that team is working on this game, but there's a lot of tie-ins with Chrono Trigger as you play the game more. And anyways, it's a mobile RPG. You can get it right now. It's free. But I usually do not like mobile games in general. Don't even want to give him the time of day. Eon, which if you all remember, he was our guest a couple episodes ago where we talked about the FF7 remake. He speaks Japanese, so he's been telling me and Eric about this game for like a year because it's been out over there for a long time. And so I've been listening to the soundtrack and everything like that, getting real excited. Finally downloaded it. I put in maybe 5 or 6 hours, not as much as I would have liked to this week, but thus far, like, dude, if more games play like this game or this quality, I could see myself getting more into mobile gaming because I'm really enjoying it.
I think this is another Eden made the best kind of compromise you can make in a free to play type game.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like just as he described it, man. It feels like a full RPG with very minimal gotcha elements. Very minimal.
Yeah.
You can play through this entire game without going to that gotcha system. And from what I've played so far, I've put about roughly 6 hours into it. And because Kingdom Hearts is coming out, that's just the unfortunate thing. Two amazing games come out at once. But I've been playing it a lot when I'm not at home. And it all feels like a normal RPG. I mean, just everything is there. It kind of feels like a steal going for for it being free. I kind of want to just give them like $10 to $20 just to uh, feel like I paid for it in some way because it really like I said, it feels like a really fully fledged RPG. It's got a full world, it's got towns, it's got dungeons to explore. It's got plentiful of side quests, and any characters that you get in your party have side quests, but their own unique stories that are really cool. Also, um, I mean, just all the elements are there, and it doesn't feel like one of those like gotcha amusement park things where you do like a battle and you go back and you click on the next thing to do battle. No, you're playing a normal RPG. I mean, that's what people have been asking for on these things, at least for original games, not just simply ports. Is they want the best RPG experience they can get, on this type of tablet because it's not the device itself, it's the ideology of mobile gaming
Yeah,
that people
exactly.
have a problem with. They don't care so much that it's on a touchscreen. It's I mean, because RPGs and touchscreens are like a dream come true together.
Hmm.
I mean,
Exactly.
on a concept wise, but I mean, but the way they mistreat it, it's like how many freaking free to play Final Fantasy games do we have? Mobius Final Fantasy, Opera Omnia, uh, freaking Brave Exvius, and they all do the same thing. And Final Fantasy Dimensions too. They all do the same thing. You click on the battle thing, you hit auto battle, and you just wait for it to go, and then you get to the next battle prompt. And you keep doing it until a cutscene happens, and you go back to doing the same repetitive thing over and over again. And it's like this game, they just made an RPG, and you can just obtain more characters that are not heavily relevant to the main story
Hmm.
if you want. Now, the one catch that is that it's similar to Chrono Cross, where you can get like a whole bunch of characters to join your party, even if they don't have much relevance to the main story. And I think this is where the gotcha does come in for it, is that each of these characters you get have their own side quest story. Not the main cast you
Yeah.
get just from playing the game, but the gotcha characters that you get. They have their own unique story, side quests that you can take on. So you can either grind the Chronos crystals to summon them, or you can pay for that. So there is that if you do want to get absolutely the most out of the game, you can. But um, that's optional, and you can get through this game without even paying attention to that gotcha system. Um, Now, I
I
haven't
s-
gotten through the full game to see how if there's
yeah.
any real difficulty spikes where they try to get you to do it. But from
Hmm.
what I've been told by other people that have gotten further into it, they said they have felt no temptation to pull these characters out or buy these characters.
And I see Dante. He's saying he'd pay for a PS4 or a Switch port. They did announce that a Switch version of this game is coming. We just don't have a release date for that yet. Um, and I'm, but it's kind of neither here nor there. If it, because the game's already mobile on your phone, it's just a good mobile version. But that version is coming out if that's something you're interested in. Um, but yeah, it's a really really good game. I'm really really enjoying it. Um, I think you kind of took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I know I ranted a little while there.
yeah.
Mm.
One thing I will say that I little share a little bit of frustration I had with the game. Eric was kind of helping me too, but I was so excited for this game, and then I went to go download it, and it wouldn't let me download it on my phone. And I have a Note 5, so it should play on my phone, but it wouldn't play on my phone. It just said does not compatible with my operating system or something like that. And Eric went over and asked on the uh, like Discord server for this game. I guess there's a Discord server for this game, and a lot of them were like, "Oh yeah, just try all these different things." But the final option was to download this um, app. Let me see what it's called. A lot of you are probably already familiar with this app.
No, and
I can't. I don't know how to
Dante,
pronounce.
um, what kind of phone? What phone do you have? I've been hearing reports from people that you can play this on a very low spec phone or tablet, and it would still play pretty well.
So yeah, Dante's saying his phone is bad. I had the same issue. Um, and what I ended up doing is downloading this app. It's called QOOAPP. So I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's got like a little teardrop looking thing with a mustache and a guy with a top hat. But it's an app that you can download other apps, right? Just like another store. Seems I was a little suspicious of it, but I looked it up. Seems pretty legitimate. Looks like people can download like or watch anime or something on there. I don't know. But I typed in the game and there was the Japanese version that came up and the English version. It let me download the English version and I played it just fine on my phone. It does take up about 2.5 gigabytes if you want to download the full game. So I had to transfer a lot of stuff to my SD card in order for me to do that. But it's been really, really worth it. And this is gonna make the day go by so much faster at work and stuff when I have a little bit of downtime. you know, at lunch or whatever the case may be, to be able to play this game. We don't know the runtime of this yet, right? I think they're still coming out with expansions and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they release more content as the game goes, but there is a full main campaign.
Yeah, that's what I was asking Hyun about. He said exactly what you said. Like there is a like you can play the game now and play it from beginning to end. The story is conclusive. They're not like trying to add more onto it to get you to pay money or anything like that. But there are expansions coming that have already been released in Japan that kind of tell some more like character DLC, but it's not central to the main plot. So you're not like missing out. But there is more content coming for people that enjoy it. So, but I mean, if you can't get it to work on your phone, there is a Switch version coming. I think this would be a little weird to play on the Switch because it is primarily touchscreen based, which you clearly do with the Switch, but it definitely seems optimized for the phone.
So I could see him doing it because it's mostly the combat in particular. Is you're picking you pick the all 4 characters and what you want them to do beforehand, and then you hit an execute button. So I can see them like using the D-pad to switch over to which character you want, confirm what ability you want them to do, then you toggle over and hit the attack button.
Yeah, I mean it's an easy fix, but
not 3DS Switch. They've only confirmed console-wise the Switch version.
I would take a 3DS version. That'd be cool. I'm not saying I've heard that, but I was just saying to Dante, I wouldn't mind a 3DS version either.
I don't think a 3DS would be able to fully realize it is a very HD game, and 3DS isn't an HD system. The graphics would have to be brought down a lot.
Yep, but yeah, it's good. We'll have to keep you up to date on what our progress is going forward with this game. But man, if they could go this route with more mobile RPGs, I could get so on board with this, because when I was playing this game, I was just thinking to myself, whenever the first sparkle in somebody's eye, you know, and they dreamed up this idea of playing like an actual high quality RPG or game on a cell phone, and like that first idea was implemented, like this is the type of game that they were probably thinking would be really cool to play on a game or on a phone. Not all this like, you know, swipe your credit card every 2 minutes to buy, you know, new gemstones crap you get in all these other games. Like this is like a legitimate game on your phone. And, you know, that's pretty rare these days.
Yeah, certainly. And people have mentioned before that this, they tie a lot of, like spiritually tie a lot of things to Chrono Trigger and Cross. That is absolutely true. There is this is very much a spiritual successor to that series. Very much. If you like Chrono Trigger, you like Chrono Cross, I really think you'll like this game. Even the soundtrack reminds me so much of Chrono Cross. Like there's certain beats and styles that the composer does that just makes me immediately think of that game. And the soundtrack is just gorgeous. I have like a playlist saved on YouTube and going through on it. It is so good, that soundtrack. And the artwork also for the characters. This is the type of artwork I really like. I just want the characters not look generic looking. Something that really turns me off in JRPGs is just sometimes they just like bring such generic looking characters that it's really hard to convince me to care about them. But the artwork is great and the characters are fun.
The only thing I would say about the artwork that is a little off-putting for me, and I think this is just a preference base, is the sprites. They don't, I think this was done on purpose, but they don't, I don't like the way it looks. They don't blend in with the background very well. Like they're designed to like really stand out from the background, and some people like that look, but I don't really like the way it looks.
I like it enough because I've played other games like it.
Well, it reminds me of the remaster of Final Fantasy IX, where you have the pre-drawn backgrounds, and then you have this like HD sprite on top of it that like is running around on like a background. Like I don't know, it's not that bad, but it is deserves a little criticism for me, but it doesn't take away from my enjoyment at all.
Yeah, the animation is definitely like a puppeteer controlling puppets type of deal.
Yeah.
Like the arms would like flip up like this and bring the sword like that. It's like a really good puppeteer with it. I still enjoy it because it has a charming thing to it. I understand that other people don't like it, but me personally, especially someone who comes from playing sprite based games, I'm pretty okay with this.
Yeah. So,
But this
um,
game is absolutely solid. It's free. It's like
that's the
it,
biggest thing I can't get over, the fact that it's free.
it's criminal that this game I think is like actually free. I think it deserves. I'll give full judgment when I beat it, but so far I feel like wow, this is something I kind of feel bad I didn't pay for.
Yeah, they should start a Patreon page or something like that. But anyways, y'all should go check it out. It's a really, really good game to play on your phone. And I'll be picking up the Switch version when it comes out, assuming this game doesn't go downhill the further I get into it. But from what I've heard from other people, it only gets better the longer you play it. So really, really excited to keep playing this game. It's been kind of like a almost too much of a good thing this week because I've been I've been trying to balance Kingdom Hearts 3 and this game. And when I pick up this game, another Eden, I just want to keep playing it, but I'm like, no, I got to get back to Kingdom Hearts. And I'm playing Kingdom Hearts, and I was like, well, I feel like I want to play another Eden, but I don't want to put Kingdom Hearts down. So
It's
it's
so
been kind of a
conflicting.
yeah,
I get where you're coming from totally.
yeah. But we should probably move on to our next topic because we're getting kind of late here. This will be our last topic, and then we have some comments to go through. But there's been some recent news regarding a Sony patent that's been filed that's essentially making people believe that the PS5 is definitely going to be backwards compatible. Let me just short article on an IGN. I'll just read this real quick so we have all the information. That's very, very short. It says, a new patent filed by Sony suggests that the next PlayStation could include backwards compatibility for previous PlayStation consoles, and fans are very excited. The patent, which can be found on a JPlatPat, with further information on this other place, with the publication number, so forth, was filed on January 20th, 2017, and published on January 31st, 2019 by Sony. Inventors enlisted include PS4 lead architect Mark Cerny and principal programmer at Sony Entertainment. It goes on to say the patent details a process that could run software from legacy devices perfectly on a new device. It notes that components like a CPU may be faster in new devices, but the architecture might not match closely enough with previous hardware. So the trick is the legacy software to work with new hardware. It mimics legacy devices. And then it goes on to say, while a potential PlayStation 5 could very well emulate PlayStation 4 relatively easily, if it's built with a similar infrastructure, platforms like PlayStation 3 are much harder to emulate due to its unique architecture, specifically its cell processor. This is one of the primary reasons Sony has had difficulty getting PS4 to emulate PS3 games in the past, though it's possible this patent suggests Sony may have found a way around these issues. Sony has not decided to comment on this for obvious reasons. But I think that's the biggest takeaway I got that I was kind of thinking in general was I think clearly the PS5 could emulate the PS1 games, no problem at this point, right? They could clearly emulate PS2 games. And like they said in the article, if it's similar to a PS4, just like a jazzed up PS4, as the PS5, clearly it could play PS4 games. But the big contender is, are they going to emulate PS3 games? Like, because that might be a whole new ball game. But maybe Sony's has some new technology to kind of streamline that process. Something that us people on the internet haven't really figured out. They certainly have the resources to do something like that.
It would have to be a very well built emulation to properly do the PS3. Now I know Community has a PlayStation 3 emulator, but it's very iffy. You have to do certain things to get games to work. Like it can be a very tiring process just to
I've
get the
never
game
used
to
it.
run.
Yeah.
I haven't either. It's just stuff I just overhear other people talking about.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's you have to have a pretty good PC to to play them, and it's takes a lot of tweaking, and it's it's not quite where some of the PS2 and PlayStation emulators are at this point.
The PS1, 2, and 4 would be more than easy enough to emulate on 5, especially if you're using like an emulator software for it.
Hmm.
For 1 and 2 in particular, they already do that with 1 on the PS3 and Vita and PSP. It's an emulator that's running ROMs of PlayStation 1 games, and that can and they already have downloadable PS2 games on the PS3 also that work similar in that way. So
Yeah.
I think they already pretty much have this stuff to use, and that could just be translated to the PS5, especially since they're basis. But PS3 is still the complicated one.
Yeah, you know, and it's I was kind of thinking about it like, well, the PS3 is like the PS3 games still look pretty good to me. Like obviously they don't look as good as a PS4 game or something on my PC. They do look dated, but they still look pretty good to me. And they could just like I feel like there's still the temptation there to just have like HD remasters of these games on the PS5, and they'll still sell, you know, bucket loads. And so I from that angle, I can see it not being that much of an issue. But I mean, that's half the fun too. If it has backwards compatibility with the PS3, would be to be able to go to some of these used game stores, pick up all these games for like $5, and you know, be able to go home and play them. And the fact that they do look still pretty good, even in this current generation. I mean, they don't look terrible, right? They're still playable, and the gameplay's a lot better than the PS2 generation. So there's a lot of fun to be had if they can get that to work. And I think it would just help Sony absolutely crush this next generation, because right now that's the one thing the Xbox One X has, is that backwards compatibility is awesome. Like that makes me want to go buy an Xbox One X. The fact that I can just buy any 360 game or any Xbox game and just plop that into the Xbox One X and it'll play the game. I mean, that is so freaking cool. And I think if Sony could pull this off, I mean, it would be a big deal if it could do PS1, PS2, and PS4 games for sure. But if they could get the PS3 also, like, dude, like that would just be epic.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest problem with PS3 is that the hardware was such a unique factor about it. It's the reason why developers were so dodgy about the console until
Yeah,
it got more popular.
yeah,
Is because of its unique nature. It's why you don't see Sega Saturn games normally.
yeah.
It's
Same thing.
because the Sega Saturn used literally 2 processors for the game for their games, and it was such a ridiculously hard thing for, let's say ridiculously hard, convoluted for developers to take on, and getting this to emulate on even fan made emulators. Um,
Yeah, it's been a struggle.
I actually heard recently that someone finally was able to make a kind of working Sega Saturn emulator, but I think it's still something that's still being heavily worked on. But
Hmm.
they, after all these years, for how old the Sega Saturn is, they finally found a way to make a kind of feasible emulator for it. So it just makes me think: how can you do a PS3 emulator for for how such a unique nature of the PS3? So
It
maybe
does make it. It does make me wonder at what cost would you be willing to have a PS5 that could have PS3 backwards compatibility? Like, I'm sure they could do it, but like, how much are you willing to pay for a PS5 that could play all these systems? I mean, would you pay, and I'm just guessing a number here, like $600 for a console, a PS5, but it has complete backwards compatibility of all their systems? Or, you know, or would you pay 450 or 400 or maybe 500 for something that has backwards compatibility except the PS3, but they have like a digital library where you can play a lot of the biggest hits, you know? I mean, I don't know if it would warrant the price increase, if that's even a factor, but that's one thing that occurs to me. Like, if they did get that to work, it would probably be a pretty expensive piece of hardware.
Yeah, because if they use hardware means to emulate the PS3,
Hmm.
that is not only outdated technology you would put in there,
Well, yeah,
but it'll probably be expensive because they probably don't make it anymore.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I was going towards when I said hardware, just having hardware that can seamlessly emulate PS3 games without issue, right? Because even with emulators now that you run on your PC, like you have to do all sorts of weird stuff and mess with the settings on every game to try to get it to run correctly, right? And to like have software running on the PS5, and anybody could just stick any generic PS3 game in there, greatest hits version, whatever, and it's just gonna load and be able to play it without any issues. That would take a lot of work. So
Yeah, it certainly would. I mean, I'm excited to see if this all turns out to be a thing. It would be fantastic to play
yeah, it looks
all
like
the games I have back here on one console. I don't have to get my PS2 to work on something or deal with like SD on that because it is really the 3D generation where resolution scaling and getting these type of consoles to work on a HD TV just kind of looks iffy. So
yeah,
having a PS5 to make these look better off a HDMI, that would be really nice.
yeah, and I could maybe like downsize my video game area because I got too many consoles hooked up. Uh, it's just, and the PS3 is so bulky. It's just, it would be nice for a convenience factor to just have one system that could play all these systems.
Yeah, certainly. And um, the one thing that kind of throws me off too is that I understand if they re-release games like digitally in the store, but I wonder if they think the cost factor is so low that they'll please the small amount of people that actually still own PS1, PS2, PS3 at this
Yeah.
point. But I mean, if they put it in, I would be more than happy. Just another reason to buy that PS5.
Looks like Lane says two comments here that I thought were kind of interesting. He says, first, that this would be awesome. I never owned a PS3, so I'd love to be able to catch up on that era. Then he says, I'm an embedded software engineer, so I totally understand why developers would hate developing for a system with two processors. It sucks to debug.
Yeah,
Uh,
the funny thing is that extra processor was the answer to Sony coming out with the PlayStation. So Sega Saturn was like, or Sega was like, okay, we need to make sure that this console is much more powerful than the PS1. So they threw an entire second processor chip in to make sure that it was the more powerful compared to the PS1. And technically, it was, but Sony won by different means. They won by its accessibility
yeah,
to
just
both
having
developers and consumers.
more games. I don't want to say better games because we're going to go down a whole rabbit hole, but probably better games too.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
Yeah,
but
they
yeah,
shot themselves in the foot making that second processor. No developers really wanted to touch it.
yeah, especially in the '90s, man.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. Let's not get crazy, Sega. Um, but anyways, so apparently they filed a patent. So again, this could just be it's like software, some kind of like software based emulation. Maybe they're experimenting with it, and then like maybe it has nothing to do with the PS5. Maybe they're just experimenting. This doesn't guarantee you or guarantee that the PS5 will be backwards compatible. But there's been a lot of speculation about this for a long time, and this seems to point only uh, more so in that direction that this is going to be a thing with the PS5. So I'm looking forward to that PS5 announcement whenever that's going to happen.
Yeah. I still don't think the PS5 is still like much later date. Maybe maybe hear something about at the end of I don't know.
I definitely think we'll hear an announcement this year for sure. That's my opinion.
I
Maybe
think
you're a
Sony's
little.
going to show something big.
I think they'll at least acknowledge the PS5 is a thing. They may not tell us more than that, but I think they'll stop doing this. We don't have anything to say. Comments. But anyways, let's go through some of these comments because getting late here on a Sunday night.
All them Kingdom Hearts talking.
Yeah. First off, Elaine, he asked, and he's with us in the chat as well. Said, do you guys have a Discord server? Would be cool to BS with you guys about games and such. Kingdom Hearts 3 is pretty great so far. Yeah, because he made that comment, I asked Eric if he thought it was a good idea. And Eric, being the proactive individual that he is, he went out and created a Discord server. And we've had a handful of people join already. So I'll leave, it's already in the description comment, hopefully, but if it's not there, I'll go ahead and add it in. So if you're interested in joining our Discord server, you can go on there and chat with us about games, see some of our uploads, and ask podcast questions, or if you want to just talk about the episode in more depth with us, you can go on there and kind of chat. And, you know, there's other people on there too you can kind of chat with and talk about RPGs, and hopefully it's something that you'll enjoy. So
yeah, it's like I said, we're not a large YouTube channel. We're just about hitting 400 subscribers now. Granted, a good half to 2/3 of the subscribers we have view our videos every week, which is a great thing. Our Discord channel is not going to be a very active place. We're definitely monitoring it every day, and we'll chat in there and everything with everyone in there, no problem. But it is something that's a growing process. So if you don't see it very active for a day or two or something like that, just give it time. It's something that's growing. Hopefully we'll create a large community out of it, but for now it is the way it is. If you want to comment in there or contribute to anything, we are looking at it, we are listening to it, and if you want to contribute questions in there, we made a section for that, and a section for discussing our particular podcast. If you want to put things in there, we'll look at it and we'll see if we can work it into the next episode.
Yeah, looks like there. We already had yesterday a good 3 to 4 hour conversation on the skies and cold the skies games and the Cold Steel games. So a lot of good thoughts in there on that. So yeah, definitely come check it out. Let's keep going here. Appreciate that suggestion, by the way, Lane. Really do. We have Idris's Pieces. I can't say that. I feel like that's a reference to somewhere. I'm gonna feel dumb later. But anyways, says thank you so much for the more detailed tags this week and the what are we playing section. That's really helpful. Maybe you always have them for some reason. I feel like it wasn't there before, but I could be crazy. Yeah, that's something new that I kind of did on a whim last week, where I actually tagged even the tangent games that we talked about. So Eric might have been like, oh yeah, I played Resident Evil 2, but I also talked about Phantasy Star 2. So we tagged those individually instead of just being like, what's Eric's talking about? What is Eric playing this week? And having that as a single tag. So I'll keep that in mind, and we'll try to do more of that. It goes on this.
You may not care that I play Resident Evil 2, but you do care that I play Phantasy Star 2. So
yeah,
you can skip the boring parts.
It goes on to say, and yes, those events in Phantasy Star 2 are exactly what makes that story so awesome. Not many JRPGs try to pull off such dark events, and there's even more that you didn't mention. Yeah.
Well, you have to play the game and see for yourself.
Really, really good game. Really good version on the Switch as well. Really happy with it. And as for Undertale, I agreed that it's meant to be played blindly first. Let some enemies live, kill some, and then go play it again as a pacifist on a second run. The genocide exists to give you the freedom, but he really doesn't actually want people to complete it like that. It's exceedingly difficult, and as you said, permanently messes your save file. Goes on to say, last, the Metroid Prime 4 thing is the complete opposite of what probably is going to be on with the FF7 remake, where the game probably got scrapped and restarted, hence no new media in 3 years, except Square Enix tried to sweep it under the rug. I love how Nintendo handled it, just like you guys. Sorry for the long comment. I really enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Keep it up, guys. Thank you for the comment. It wasn't long at all. I didn't mind. We get some doozies on here every now and again, but I don't mind reading them. Leanne, she says, I've been playing a ton of Resident Evil 2 in the past day, and now I'm paranoid in my own apartment. I grew up with the series, but it's the first time for me to play solo. I watched my big brother play 1 to 4, and 5 was the first one I could play because it had co-op and not as scary. If my brother could see me now, he would be proud of me, and maybe a little worried because I've been getting a lot of nightmares since I started the game. Eric, did you get nightmares during your current replay through of the remastered or remade version of Resident Evil 2? Has it been keeping you up late?
I don't get scared easily like that. I do get startled for sure. Like I open the door and there's Mr. X and he just slams me to the ground. Yeah, that scares the crap out of me. But like, I don't get like nightmares from stuff like that.
So, your Resident Evil 2 copy did not come with a nightlight.
It did not, but I think I just have such a distinction between fiction and reality that like just the stuff I see. Like even though I watched the Saw movies, like I watched a few of them.
I don't like those.
The first 3 of them, and like it's all grotesque and gory looking. But like in the back of my head, I just think to myself like, oh, this is like really good prop stuff. Like, oh, hey, that really does look like a chest getting thrown, like ripped off the side to side and stuff like that. So it doesn't really bother me in that sense. So it's kind of hard for me to get scared on that. I kind of think of like the scary monster with the zipper in his back that you can see from the actor. But I understand how other people get scared by that stuff and think about it. But hey, Resident Evil definitely accomplishes the horror aspect of it. And Lane, I am great job on buying Phantasy Star. I assume you're talking about the first game, Sega Ages. I hope you enjoy it. It's definitely a product of its time, and I hope you enjoy it. I don't blame you if you use a guide for it at all, though. It can be very cryptic at times, so don't feel too bad if you pull up a guide for it.
Lane said in comments, Fantasy Star 2 is a whole $2 off today, or $2 today on the Switch.
Fantasy Star 1 is a whole $2.
Yeah, Fantasy Star 1, but it's only $2 on the Switch store. So thought about jumping in. Lane's looking out for you. $2, that's a good deal. I can't remember what I paid. I think we paid like
$8.
Yeah. So hey,
so $6 off.
75% off. That's a good deal. Can't go wrong for $2. Let's see. Let's keep going here. We have BioPhoenix, who says Crosscode looks awesome. I'd get it on the Switch if it comes out. I plan on getting it on the Switch, and I also own it on the PC. it's a good game. So I need to get back to it. Honestly, it's
Switch day one.
Yep, absolutely. And then Ozymus, otherwise known as a Joker. He says, yes, you guys mentioned Tim. Okay, well, he's trying to say yes, like excited. You guys mentioned Tim Rogers from Kotaku. His Dragon Quest 11 review was crazy as hell too. I really enjoyed. I enjoy his reviews. They're hilarious. They're informative, and they're overall just really enjoyable. Not everyone will like his sense of humor, but I find him funny. So definitely go to their YouTube channel and check out his review of Dragon Quest 11 and Kingdom Hearts 3. Both of them are really, really good. The Kingdom Hearts 3 one is just gold. It's hilarious. Going forward, though, he says, great podcast and can't wait for Kingdom Hearts 3. Also, don't worry, Hat. Many of us weren't able to finish the series before they launched. I got stuck on Chains of Memories for a long time. Interesting. Did you have trouble with Chains of Memories, Eric?
Not particularly, especially since you can break the game in both the version.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe it might be a time thing. Like he was trying to go through all the games and just like ran out of time with that particular game. You know,
I understand the difficulties of the game. you have to focus on the card system and dodge roll and
Hmm.
attack, and it's really a rubbing your belly and tapping your head at the same time type of thing.
Yeah,
It's like you can do it, but like when you're put into serious situations, or like where it starts things start getting difficult, then things start really falling apart because you have a really hard time focusing on
interesting. Just real quick, Lane did make a correction to his previous statement. We said it wrong. He said, sorry, it's Fantasy Star 1 is $2 off, $6 total in the shop, which is still a steal, but not as exciting as $2 entirely. But thank you for correcting that, so we don't get some hate comments. So
still worth $6.
yep. He goes on to say also, yeah, I watched Happy Console Gamer's video on Fantasy Star. I watched it too, portions of it, and it sounds like a great game. I like that the dungeons are mapped out now, as it sounds like from listening to you guys. It was very much a pencil and paper experience. Yeah, just quality of life features, man. Nothing against that. Nobody wants to play the Switch and also have a pencil and a piece of paper. That sounds terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that rounds our comments up. Again, we have an audio version. You can download it on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify. Listen to us in the car on the way to work. If you don't have time to watch the video, you can join our Discord server. You can tweet at us on Twitter. I'll try to be on there more often, and send us a message if you want to engage in that way. But let us know your thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3. And eventually, I would say pretty soon, we're going to have a Kingdom Hearts 3 discussion where we're going to talk about spoilers. But this week, I got to finish the game. Eric's got to finally complete the game, although I think he's pretty much there. But regardless, you all can look forward to that. But till next week, we'll talk to you all later.
All right, take care.
Yeah.